Her father walked through his front door and froze in shock when he saw his 9-year-old daughter kneeling in a puddle of dirty water. Her once pretty dress was torn and soaked, her tiny hands bleeding from scrubbing the floor too hard. The heartbreaking sight shattered the beautiful image of their luxury home and revealed a dark truth, hidden. Cruelty and a wicked plan carried out by the very people who should have loved and protected her. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to our story. Don't forget to subscribe and tell us in the comments. What would you do if this happened in your family? The sound of a wet rag scraping against polished marble echoed through the grand house on Oakwood Lane. Mixed with it was the shallow, strained breathing of a small child. Emily Parker, just 9 years old, was on her knees in the cold kitchen. Her favorite blue dress, dotted with tiny white flowers, was now torn and stained. Her hands were red and swollen, with small cuts across her fingertips that still bled. Yet she kept gripping the rough scrub brush as if her entire future depended on it. Hovering above her like a shadow was Victoria Hart, her stepmother. In her early 30s, slim, elegant, with sharp cheekbones and chestnut hair tied in a severe bun, she looked like a woman of grace. But her eyes carried no warmth. On her wrist gleamed a silver bracelet that once belonged to Sarah Parker, Emily's late mother, who had died of illness 9 months earlier. Victoria's crimson silk dress shimmered beneath the sunlight, streaming through the tall windows. Her voice, however, was cold enough to freeze the air. "Scrub that spot until it shines, you useless little girl. And don't you dare stop until I say so." Emily's small body shook from exhaustion. In a weak, trembling voice, she begged, "Please, just 1 minute? My hands hurt so much. I can't hold the brush anymore." Victoria's lips twisted. She seized the bucket of dirty water and dumped it over Emily's knees. The icy splash soaked her dress further, making her gasp. "If your hands hurt, that means you're lazy. And if you ever tell your father about this," Victoria hissed, bending close, "I'll throw you out on the street like trash. No one will want you, not even him." Emily bit her lip until it bled, forcing back her tears. She was terrified of being abandoned, left in a world without her father or her late mother's memory. So despite the pain, she lowered her head and continued scrubbing. Suddenly, the heavy front door slammed open. The sharp sound of polished leather shoes echoed across the marble hallway. Daniel Parker, Emily's father, had returned home earlier than expected. Still in his navy blue suit, he carried his briefcase with the confidence of a successful businessman. But behind the polished exterior lived a grieving man who hadn't truly smiled since his wife Sarah passed away. What he saw in the kitchen knocked the air out of him. His little girl, kneeling in dirty water, her hands raw and bleeding. Victoria, standing over her in red heels, quickly adjusting her expression. Daniel dropped his briefcase with a heavy thud and rushed forward, his voice erupting with disbelief. "What on earth is going on here?" Victoria spun around, her face instantly softening into a mask of innocence. "Darling, you're home early. Emily made a little mess while helping me. I was just teaching her discipline. You know how important it is for children to learn responsibility." Daniel's eyes shifted from Victoria to Emily. Slowly, Emily lifted her face. Her brown eyes, wide, trembling, filled with silent fear, told him everything words could not, and in those eyes he saw Sarah. Memories flooded his mind like a rushing river. Sarah sitting at the piano, sunlight catching in her hair as she guided Emily's small fingers across the keys. Sarah in the hospital bed, pale but still smiling, whispering with her final breath, "Promise me. Never leave our daughter alone." But Daniel had broken that promise. After Sarah's death, he drowned himself in work. Contracts, meetings, and deals worth millions had distracted him from the pain, but also blinded him to the growing distance between himself and his daughter. And now, staring at Emily's wounded hands, shame and fury fought inside him. Victoria stepped closer, placing her hand on his arm with feigned concern. "Darling, she just needs firmness. I only want what's best for her." Daniel's eyes fell to Emily's torn dress, the one he had bought her for her last birthday, right before Sarah's health collapsed. Now it was ruined, faded and soaked. His gaze dropped to the scrub brush lying on the wet floor. The bristles were stained dark red. His daughter's blood. Daniel's jaw tightened. His fists trembled. For the first time in months, a storm began brewing inside him. He gently lifted the brush and dropped it into the bucket. Then, without a word, he crouched and took Emily's trembling hand. He guided her to the sink, turned on warm water and rinsed her wounds. She winced softly but didn't complain. "It doesn't hurt too much, Daddy," she whispered bravely. Her courage broke his heart. He wrapped her tiny hands in bandages with trembling fingers, wanting to ask her everything, what had been happening, how long this had gone on. But his throat locked up. Finally, he managed, "Go upstairs and rest, sweetheart. I'll check on you soon." Emily nodded quietly and disappeared into the hallway shadows. Victoria approached again, her tone syrupy. "Daniel, you're exhausted. Let me handle everything." Daniel pushed her hand away. "Enough." His voice was low but firm. That night, sleep refused to come. Images of Emily's bleeding hands haunted him. Sarah's dying words echoed in his mind. Restless, he unlocked Sarah's old room with a small brass key. The air still held the faint scent of her perfume. A silk scarf was draped across the chair, and on the nightstand sat a framed wedding photo of two young lovers, smiling as though nothing could ever break them. Opening a drawer, Daniel found a thin envelope. In Sarah's delicate handwriting were the words, "For Daniel. Read this when you need me most." His hands shook as he unfolded the letter. "My dearest Daniel, if you are reading this, then I am no longer by your side. Please keep Emily safe from anyone who might harm her. Don't be fooled by charming faces. If you are ever uncertain, look into Emily's eyes. You will always see the truth there. She needs her father to be strong and brave. I love you both more than all the stars in the sky. Forever yours, Sarah." Tears streamed down Daniel's face. He clutched the letter tightly against his chest, Sarah's words ringing in his ears like church bells. That same night, Emily appeared at the door in her pajamas, clutching her bandaged hand. "Daddy, I can't sleep. My hand hurts." Daniel's voice broke as he opened his arms. "Come here, sweetheart." She rushed into his embrace, trembling. He held her close, whispering, "I'm so sorry. Emily, I should have protected you." Her tiny voice replied, "It's okay. Daddy, I know you miss Mama. I miss her too." Even after all she had endured, she was comforting him, and at that moment Daniel knew everything had to change. He would not fail his daughter again. Daniel held his daughter close, his heart aching with guilt and determination. For months, he had drowned in sorrow, blind to what was happening right under his roof. But now, holding Emily in his arms, he knew Sarah's words were true. Emily's eyes revealed the truth, and he would never ignore them again. "Emily," he whispered, "I need you to tell me something. Has Victoria been cruel to you before today?" Emily's wide eyes flickered with fear. She looked toward the door as if expecting Victoria to appear. Then in a fragile whisper she confessed, "She told me never to tell you anything. She said if I did, she'd send me away, and I'd never see you again." Daniel's chest burned with rage, but his voice stayed calm. "You'll never be sent away, sweetheart. I promise you. But I need you to be brave and tell me what she's done." Her lips trembled as she spoke. "She makes me clean every day. She calls me lazy and worthless. She says Mama died because she was weak, and that I'll be weak too." Daniel's stomach twisted, but he let her continue. "She doesn't give me lunch sometimes. She says fat kids don't deserve food." And Emily's voice cracked. "She broke my music box. Mama's music box. She crushed it with her heels and said I didn't deserve it." Every word was like a blade cutting into Daniel's heart. He pulled her close. "Emily, none of that is true. You are not worthless. You are my most precious gift. Don't ever forget that." Her eyes filled with tears, but a small smile broke through. "Really? Really?" he said, pressing his forehead against hers. "You're kind, smart, and strong, just like your mama. And I love you more than all the stars in the sky." That night, Emily slept peacefully for the first time in months, nestled against her father. But downstairs, Victoria Hart's heels echoed angrily against the tiles as she dialed a number with shaking hands. "Pick up," she hissed. "Pick up." Finally, a smooth male voice answered, "Victoria, it's late." "What now?" "Ethan Daniel came home early. He saw me disciplining the brat. I think Emily told him something." On the other end, Ethan Parker, Daniel's younger brother, smirked. At 35, handsome and polished, he hid greed behind charm. "Calm down," Ethan said smoothly. "This may work in our favor. If Daniel thinks you're too harsh, I'll play the caring uncle. He'll be grateful." "And grateful men sign documents without thinking." Victoria's eyes gleamed. "You mean the company papers?" "Exactly. If I take control, he'll never get it back. Once I have the money, Emily will be out of the way too," Victoria whispered eagerly. "Send her far away, right?" "Yes," Ethan said coldly. "She'll disappear, and Daniel won't have the strength to fight." Victoria's pulse quickened. "When will you come?" "Tomorrow," Ethan replied. "Make sure you act like the perfect stepmother. Sweet, gentle. Leave the rest to me." The next morning, Emily stretched happily beside her father. "Daddy, I dreamed of Mama last night." She was singing and smiling. She wasn't sick anymore. Daniel's eyes watered. "She's proud of you, sweetheart." "I know she is." When they went downstairs, Victoria was already at the table, her smile fake and sugary. "Good morning." "Emily, how are your little hands? Feeling better?" Emily clung to her father silently. Daniel's reply was sharp. "They're healing." The doorbell rang. Victoria's smile widened. "That must be Ethan!" "I invited him." Daniel's jaw tightened. He hadn't spoken to his brother in months. The door opened and Ethan entered, carrying a gold-wrapped gift box. "Brother!" Ethan exclaimed warmly. "And my lovely niece." Emily shrank behind her father, peeking nervously. Ethan knelt down, handing her the box. Inside was a beautiful doll. "Her name is Princess Bella. She's been waiting for you." Emily whispered a quiet, "Thank you," but her hand clutched Daniel's sleeve tighter. Daniel noticed. She was afraid. That was enough to confirm his suspicions. "Daniel," Ethan said, "I've been worried. You've lost Sarah, you're running the company, raising Emily. It's too much for one man." "Let me help." "I don't need help," Daniel said firmly. "Of course you don't," Ethan chuckled. "But even strong men need support. That's what family is for." Victoria chimed in, her voice sweet. "Ethan just wants to lighten your load. Maybe manage the company while you focus on Emily." Daniel stayed silent, watching them weave their trap. That evening, Ethan returned with a sleek briefcase full of documents. Victoria served his favorite roast dinner. "Before we eat," Ethan said, laying the papers on the table, "let's handle business. This agreement lets me manage Anderson Enterprises for a year. You'll still own it, of course. I'll just protect your interests." Daniel flipped through the papers. Hidden in the fine print was the truth. Ethan would gain full control. He could sell assets, take loans, even claim guardianship of Emily if Daniel was deemed unfit. Daniel's heart pounded. It wasn't just about money. They wanted his daughter. Ethan leaned in, smiling. "Sign tonight, and tomorrow you'll finally have peace." Victoria's eyes gleamed. "It's what's best for Emily." Daniel glanced at the documents, then at them. For a tense moment he acted as if he might sign, but his phone buzzed silently. A message from Andrew Collins, his lawyer. "Don't sign. Papers are fraudulent. We're ready. Give the signal." Daniel stood tall. "You know, Ethan, Sarah once told me, if I ever doubted who truly cared for Emily, I should look into her eyes. And when I do, I don't see you. I see fear." Ethan's smile faltered. Victoria's face hardened. Daniel lifted the family photo from the mantel, revealing a tiny recorder behind it. "Everything you've said tonight," he said coldly, "is recorded. The threats, the fraud, the abuse. It's all evidence," Victoria gasped. You recorded us?" A pounding knock shook the front door. "This is Detective Mark Lawson," a strong voice called. "We have a warrant for the arrest of Victoria Hart and Ethan Parker." Two officers entered, flanking the detective. Behind them came Andrew Collins, briefcase in hand. "You're finished," Daniel said. "You'll never hurt my daughter again." The officers handcuffed Victoria and Ethan as they shouted in protest. But their voices carried no power anymore. Upstairs, Emily held the walkie-talkie Daniel had given her. Daddy, are the bad people gone? She asked softly. Daniel pressed the button. His voice was steady, full of love. Yes, sweetheart. They're gone. You're safe now, and I'll never leave you again. The officers led Victoria and Ethan away. Silence returned to the house. Emily stood at the top of the stairs, clutching her doll. Daniel opened his arms. Come here, Emily. She ran down and leapt into his embrace. For the first time in months, she felt truly safe, and Daniel, holding his daughter close, whispered, Sarah, I kept the promise. I will protect her, always. This story reminds us sometimes the people who smile the brightest hide the darkest intentions. Always listen to a child's silence, because their eyes speak the truth. What do you think? Was Daniel right to secretly record them instead of confronting them directly? Comment your thoughts below.